Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are stepping into a workshop, but I don't want you to picture, some high-tech, pristine, clean room.
No lab coats.
No lab coats, exactly.
What?
I want you to picture a garage. It got sawdust on the floor, maybe that smell of oil, jars of screws nailed up to the rafters. We are stepping into the digital workshop of someone who calls themselves an old software plumber.
It's a wonderfully evocative title, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, in an industry that's so obsessed with architects and ninjas and rock stars, calling yourself a plumber is a real statement.
It really is. What does it say to you?
It says you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. You're not designing some ivory tower. You're the one in the basement making sure the pipes actually carry water and don't leak all over the expensive carpet.
Exactly. And the source material for today's deep dive just captures that spirit perfectly. We're looking at a blog post from qianmeng.org, specifically an entry titled Notes on Haskell Programming, Part 55, adding the version flag.
Part 55. Let's just pause on that number for a second.
I know, right? Most coding tutorials I find are like Part 1, Hello World, and maybe a Part 2, How to Quit, and then the blog just dies.
This is different. This is a long-term documentation of a journey, a massive ongoing series about the author's experience building real software in Haskell.
So the mission for today is surprisingly specific. The author, Ang, is working on a console application. It's called XS2 ebook.
Right.
From what I gathered, it's a tool that takes Chinese TXT novels, just raw text files, and converts them into nice, readable ebooks.
Yeah, a very practical, utility-driven piece of software.
And the goal of this specific session, Part 55, is to teach this tool how to introduce itself. Basically, if a user types version, the program should say, hey, I'm version 1.0, instead of, crashing.
Or trying to convert a book that isn't there.
Exactly.
And it sounds trivial, doesn't it?
It sounds incredibly trivial. I mean, how hard can it be to print a number on the screen? But as I was reading this, I got the sense that in Haskell, nothing is ever just printing a number.
And that is the deep dive right there. In many languages, you might just slap a print statement at the top of your main function and call it a day. But Haskell sort of forces you, or, encourages you, to think about the architecture of that request. Even a simple version flag is a lesson in how you compose logic.
Okay, so let's get into the plumbing. The author starts, as you do, by gathering the tools, the imports.
Right.
And this is where I hit my first snag. I'm looking at the code, and I see the import data.version. Okay, fine. But then they import this thing, pathsex2 ebook.
Ah, yes.
That looks like a file name, not a library. Is that a typo in the doc?
No, that's actually a piece of automation magic. To understand this, we have to talk a little about how Haskell projects are built. You don't just compile files randomly.
Okay.
You usually have a build system, often something called Cabal or Stack. And you can think of the build system as the project manager. It has this master blueprint at Cabal file that lists the official name of the app, its dependencies, and crucially, the version number.
Okay, so the project manager knows the version is, say, 1.0.
Exactly. Now, you could just go into your code and write string version 1.0.
That is 100% what I would do. It takes 5 seconds.
And it works great until you update the project manager's blueprint to 1.1, but you forget to update the code file. Now, your release says 1.1, but the software is telling the user it's 1.0. You're effectively lying.
Ah, I see. It's a classic two sources of truth problem.
Precisely. So pathsex2 ebook is a module that is, it's auto-generated by the build system during compilation. It's like the project manager printing out a fresh ID badge for the code every single time it builds.
So by importing version from there, the code is asking the build system, hey, what version are we right now?
That's it.
That is so slick. It's a little bit of setup for a whole lot of reliability later on. It guarantees you never lie about your version number.
It's the plumber mindset. Fix the leak before it happens. Don't rely on your memory to update a string. Rely on the system to tell you the truth.
Okay, so we have the ingredients. We've got the version number. Now we have to actually tell the program to listen for that version flag. And this is where the code got alien.
You mean the parser definition?
I mean, line 63, let me just try to read it out. It says, info, arg parser, helper, versioner, modifier, and those things in the middle. That looks like a little star wearing parenthesis. Or a TIE fighter from Star Wars?
TIE fighter is a great visual. I like that.
What on earth is that doing? Is it math? Is it like multiplying the helper by the versioner?
It does look like multiplication, doesn't it? But no, this is one of those moments where Haskell's philosophy really shines through, and it can be a bit mind-bending if you're used to standard imperative programming.
Like Python or Java?
Exactly. The do this, then do that style. In an imperative style, you might write, check if the first argument is version. If yes, print version. Else, check if it's help. Else, run the program. You are giving step-by-step instruction.
Right, a recipe.
Haskell, and specifically this library optparse-applicative, is declarative. You aren't telling the computer how to parse. You are describing what a valid command looks like. You're building a specification.
Okay, but what does the TIE fighter do?
The TIE fighter, technically the flipped applicative operator, is the glue. Imagine you have 3 Lego blocks. Block 1 is your main program logic. Convert a book.
Okay.
Block 2 is the helper. Show the help menu. And block 3 is the new guy. Show the version.
Got my blocks.
You need to snap them together into one giant super parser that handles everything. That's what the operator does. But, and here's the critical part, it defines priority.
Priority.
Yes. Think about it. If you type access to ebook version, you do not want the program to trigger the convert a book logic. You don't want it to look for a file. You want it to ignore everything else, print the number, and just quit.
Right. If I ask for the version, I don't want the machine to start grinding up text files.
And the operator in this specific arrangement tells the program, check these flags, help in version first. If one of them is there, run that action and stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
So it's a gatekeeper.
It's an interceptor. The author puts it beautifully in the text with a little equation. Final parser, core logic, plus help support, plus version support. By using that star operator, he's injecting the help and version checks into the flow, giving them the power to cut the line.
That actually makes a lot of sense. You're describing the structure of the program. I want a program that does X, but helps with Y and reports Z, and the library figures out the flow control for you.
Exactly. You describe the robot, the compiler builds it.
So let's talk about the versioner block itself.
Yeah.
The author creates this little function called versioner, and inside it they use something called infoOption.
Yes.
Now, in previous posts in this series, the author used starargument for things like the file name. Why the switch? Why not just use starargument for the version too?
Because they are fundamentally different actions. Starargument is a bucket. It sits there waiting to catch a piece of data, like a file name, so the program can use it later. It says, give me input, I am hungry.
Okay.
InfoOption is not a bucket. It's an ejection seat.
An ejection seat.
A polite one. InfoOption is designed for flags that provide information and then terminate the process. When you use InfoOption, you are telling the program, if you see this flag, print this specific string, the version, and then exit immediately.
Ah, so it handles the shutdown part for you.
Correct. If you used a normal argument parser, the program would grab the version number and then say, okay, I got the number, now where's the book I'm supposed to convert? And then it would probably crash.
Because I didn't give it one.
Right. InfoOption knows that its only job is to speak and then leave.
It's the mic drop of functions. Version 1.0, out.
Yes, essentially. And the author configures it with the standard flags, version, and V.
Which is just good manners.
It is. It's following the principle of least surprise. Users expect -V to work. The software plumber respects the standards of the trade.
Now, this is where the post took a turn that I really appreciated. The code work. They had the one-liner with the TIE fighters. They had the ejection seat. It was done.
It was functional.
But then the author writes, come to think of it. And they decide to change it.
The refactor.
To be honest, this is where I usually stop. If I'm coding and it works, I'm terrified to touch it. I'm like, don't breathe on it, it might break. Why does the author go back in and tear it apart?
This is the difference between a coder and a craftsman. Or, to stick with our metaphor, the difference between a handyman who duct tapes the leak and the plumber who reroutes the pipe properly.
So what did they actually change?
They took that dense one-line definition of the parser and broke it out into a where block.
A where block.
It's a Haskell structure that lets you define variables and helper functions after the main code. So instead of one long mathematical sentence, you get something like, the parser is made of A, B, and C. Where A is the versioner, B is the helper, and C is the core logic.
So they basically just unpacked the suitcase.
They organized the workshop, and by doing that, they revealed something that was hidden before. In the previous messy version, the program description, a tool to convert Chinese TXT novel to ebooks, was just buried in the middle of all that syntax.
Oh, I totally missed that in the first version.
Exactly. It was hard to see. In the refactored version, ProgDesk sits on its own line. It just pops right out at you.
So if I come back to this code in 6 months, I don't have to decipher hieroglyphics to know what the app actually does.
Or if someone else comes to the code. Readability is empathy for the future reader. The author realized that while the one-liner was clever, the expanded version was clear. And in the long run, clarity always wins.
It's funny you mention the long run, because that brings me to the part of this deep dive that genuinely blew my mind. And it wasn't the code.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this.
I clicked around the blog a bit,
Yeah.
just checking the context. And I looked at the sidebar.
The other categories.
We are discussing notes on Haskell, which is at part 55. That's impressive. But then I saw notes on gardening.
Ah.
Do you know what part notes on gardening is on?
I recall it being substantial.
Part 805.
805.
Part 805, the graceful sway. And another one about a red pineapple. And then there's notes on fish keeping at part 195, relocating my jewel cichlet.
It stops being just a tech blog at that point, doesn't it?
It completely reframed the old software plumber thing for me. I thought it was just a cute nickname. But this person, Ang, clearly has a philosophy that applies to everything.
I think you've hit on something really profound there. Think about the connection between gardening and software maintenance.
Well, usually one involves mud and the other involves Mountain Dew, but go on.
Think about the process. You don't finish a garden. You don't just plant it once and walk away forever.
No, it dies. Or the weeds take over everything.
Exactly. You have to tend it. You have to show up maybe every day. You prune a dead leaf here. You water there. You move a plant that isn't getting enough sun. It's a continuous process of small, incremental adjustments.
And that's exactly what this blog post was. They added a version flag, that's planting a new seed. Then they refactored the code, that's weeding.
Yes, the refactor was literally weeding the code. They looked at it and said, this is a bit overgrown, it's messy, let's trim it back so the structure is visible again.
That is wild. So whether he's moving a jewel cichlet to a new tank, or moving a parser into a where block, it's the same brain at work.
It's the same discipline, the discipline of tinkering. The blog's tagline actually says, night-long tinkering with free Libra and open source software.
And 800 posts. I mean, if he does one a week, that's
over 15 years of work.
15 years of documentation.
Damn.
That is staggering dedication. And it makes me look at my own GitHub profile with a lot of shame. I have so many projects that are initial commit and then just silence.
We all do. The start is exciting. The maintenance is the hard part. But the plumber shows up. The gardener shows up.
And it's not just about his own garden, right? I noticed the footer of the site was packed with links.
Yes, the ecosystem links, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Free Software Foundation, the Tor Project, Wikipedia.
These are huge structural organizations.
This connects right back to the plumber identity. A plumber cares about the infrastructure. These organizations, EFF, FSF, they are the ones maintaining the sewage system and the water pipes of the internet. They ensure the web stays free and open and private.
So Ang isn't just tending his own little plot of code. He's supporting the public utilities that make it all possible for everyone.
Exactly. It paints this whole picture of someone who sees themselves as a custodian of code, of plants, of fish, and of the open web.
It's surprisingly moving for a tutorial on command line flags.
The best technical writing always is. It's never just about the code, it's about the thinking behind the code.
So let's try to wrap this up. We started with a specific Haskell library, optparse-applicative.
We learned about the operator, our TIE fighter, and how it allows us to inject priority logic into our programs, essentially letting the user cut the line to ask for help or the version info.
And we learned about infoOption, the polite ejection seat that answers a question and then just leaves.
And we saw the value of the refactor, taking working code and organizing it, not for the machine, but for the human who has to read it later.
But the big takeaway, for me at least, is the persona, the old software plumber, the gardener.
The lesson that software is not a monument you build, it is a garden you tend.
So here is my challenge to you listening to this, and I'm going to ask myself this too. Where in your work are you letting the weeds grow?
That's a good question.
Where are you settling for it works when you know you should take 10 minutes to refactor it for your future self?
Or where are you just failing to show up? Because the garden doesn't care if you're a genius, it only cares if you're consistent.
Maybe go write part 55 of something today, even if it's just adding a version flag.
Especially if it's just adding a version flag.
Thanks for diving in with us. Till the next post.
Till the next post.